For an update on this now, we speak to journalist Ekeomah Eneji, who is in Nigeria. Ekeomah, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. I can imagine a very somber mood in that region, given this collapse of a building, yet another building in Nigeria. What's currently going through the minds of those parents who've lost their kids today? All right, it seems as though Ekeomah's feed there is frozen at the moment. We'll try to reconnect with her just to get an update with regards to those 16 school children who have lost their lives in the collapse of a school building during exams. I believe Ekeomah is back. Ekeomah, good evening once again. You're speaking to Katleho. Are you well and can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Indeed, it's a very sad moment in Jos Plateau State because this happened when the children were writing their exams. And so what should have actually ended in some sort of happiness as the end of the school term, the end of the school session actually turned out to be a time of sorrow and mourning. And so it's really sad, especially because not just children, also teachers are feared dead in this building collapse.
So you speak of children and possibly teachers. The number we have now is 16. Has that number changed? Do we know how much it's going to rise by, if ever?
Okay, yeah, currently as of 6 p.m. today, and that's from the information reaching us as journalists from the Ministry of Information and Communication from the Secretariat, the Jos Plateau State Secretariat. The number has actually increased to 22 confirmed cases, confirmed death, and then 154 people have been rescued down to different teaching hospitals, the Jos University teaching hospitals. And, there's been a total of 154 victims with 132 hospitalized, so they are still looking out for more people. There are still speculations that people might be on the rubble. But for now, the number has actually increased to 22 deaths and 132 people hospitalized.
And are rescue operations still ongoing at this hour? Do we know?
Yes, rescue operations are still ongoing, and that's according to the directive of the governor. He has instructed various emergency agencies, the Nigerian Emergency Management Agency, the Red Cross, a lot of other emergency agencies to be deployed to ensure that they scout through all the rubbles and make sure that people are brought out, whether safe, whether dead or alive. But just rescue operations are still ongoing, and the government is also saying that this will continue, and he's also extending his condolences to the victims, to the families of the victims who lost their lives. So currently, rescue operations is still ongoing.
I mean, the cause of this is being attributed to the heavy rains that have been ongoing over the last 3 days in that region. Have authorities asked or summoned for other schools within the region to be closed for safety reasons?
Currently, that information, we haven't gotten such information yet as to whether any law or any information has been sent across to all schools to shut down because of this reason. Investigation is underway, and that's all that we have. That's all that we know. But beyond just the rains, we also have speculations of improper building structures. We know that in Nigeria, there has been series of collapsed buildings in Lagos, in Abuja, and that's due to the fact that sometimes some of these buildings don't go through the proper checks or don't go through the right procedures, and they just erect these structures and they're not strong enough to stand the test of time, and so there's a collapse. Of course, we cannot rule out the fact that the heavy rains will also be a factor that will contribute to the collapse. But as the government has said, investigation is underway, thorough investigation is underway. It's still very early to decipher or to determine what the cause is, but as the days unfold, we'll definitely get that information.
Speaking of that issue of buildings in Nigeria that are of substandard and causing a lot of these collapses. I mean, 45 people died in 2021 during a construction that was underway. And since 2005, 152 buildings have collapsed in Lagos. What are authorities doing or saying about this over this period of time? And are residents really raising this as an issue for urgency that the government needs to take up in ensuring that less buildings are built with inferior materials that then lead to these collapses?
Okay, so I'll start by saying that it might not only be inferior goods or inferior items used to build to erect these structures. It's also that some of them don't go through the proper checks. So take, for instance, you have a plan to build a two-story building, and along the line, you decide to raise it up to 4 or 5. And then the authorities that are supposed to check that this building has the capacity to carry, or this land has a capacity to carry the structure, do not do their jobs properly. Because for every structure that is erected, there is an office that is mandated to ensure that all these are checked. But we find out that there are some level of corruption in the system, such that when these development control officials come to check the building, money changes hands, and it just goes under the carpet, and then the structures are erected, and then there's a collapse. So while substandard goods as one is a factor on the one hand, on the other hand, there is also the point that some of these agencies, the offices that are meant to supervise and make sure that structures are properly checked, are also not doing their work properly.
All right, Ekeomah, certainly a very tragic time for those who've lost loved ones in this incident. Thank you so much for that update. We will obviously continue to link up with you over the course of the weekend to get more in terms of those that have been recovered and those that have lost their lives. That was Ekeomah Eneji, a journalist in Nigeria, giving us an update there of the Saint Academy School that has caved in.